Okay, so we've done some work with summations and with arithmetic and geometric sequences. And what we're now going to take a look at is a series. And there's only really a minor difference. So in a sequence, you have a listed numbers. In a series, you're going to add the sequence of numbers. You're going to add up the numbers. So we're going to need some helper formulas today. And if you haven't taken a look at it and you want to know, well, where do these come from, take a look at the discovery videos on where these come from. But that's not essential to know, just these are the ones for an arithmetic series or sequence. So this first one, we need to know our first term. We need to know our common difference, and that will allow us to write a formula that will find any specific term that we want. These two have to do with series, meaning I want to add up all the numbers. So if I gave you like 1, 2, 3, 4, ... 100, okay, these formulas would help to add up all those numbers without actually typing them all in individually. So in this one, you need to know the number of terms that you want, the first term, and this is the last term in your addition. It's not it's the last term is the n. So if n were 5, this would be the fifth term. Let's take a look at using this first formula, because that first formula is very useful for finding a specific term. So this question asks, find the formula for the arithmetic sequence and then find the 20th term. And it could be any term number that I ask here. So this is A1 for the first term, this is A2 for the second term, and this is A3 for the third term. And what we want to do is find a formula so that we can find the 20th term without finding all the ones in the middle. So our formula for this, just to put it up where it's handy, is AN equals A1 plus our common difference, n minus 1. So we already know the first term, so that's 5, but we need our common difference. And remember, to find our common difference, if we know it's arithmetic, we just take our second term and subtract our first term. So we have negative 13 minus 5, and I get negative 18. So I'm subtracting 18 each time. So that's enough to actually write the formula. So AN equals 5 plus, now I'm actually going to write a minus here because a plus minus, so minus 18 and minus 1. Now, while that's sufficient, we could simplify it, so we should. So I'm going to have 5 minus 18 and plus 18, and I'll go ahead and rearrange things. And what we'll see is that this is linear. So if we were to graph this, we would get a line. So note that this is linear because that will be important later. Okay, so now we want to find the 20th term. So I want A sub 20. So this was the first part. I got my formula, and now I'll use it to find the 20th term. So I have 5 minus, let's actually use the reduced formula. That'll be easier. So negative 18 times 20 plus 32. And I'll bring up my calculator to help. So negative 18 times 20, because I want the 20th term, plus 32. I get negative 328. All right, and that one's done. So again, what do we need to know? We need to know the first term and the common difference. That's what we're looking for each one of these in order to do it. So our common difference here, D, is going to be the difference of these first two terms. So 10 minus 3, so 7. So my common difference is 7. And I want to make sure, though, that it actually is 7 all the way. 10 plus 7, 17 plus 7, yeah. So we want to make sure it's actually arithmetic. Otherwise, none of these formulas will work. So I have AN is going to equal the first term, 3, plus our common difference times n minus 1. And now I'll distribute the 7. And I'm going to get 7n minus 4. Again, this is linear. If we were to graph this, we would get a line. Okay, so let's go ahead, and A20 is going to be 7 times 20 minus 4. So we'll just plug that in. 7 times 20 minus 4. And I get 136 as my 20th term. And I might be asked for any term number, it doesn't matter. And just for convenience, I use the same one for all of them. So remember, common difference. Looks like I'm adding 2 each time. But I'll verify, so I'll do negative 6 minus negative 8. So that's plus 8, so my common difference is 2. So AN is going to be negative 8 plus 2 times n minus 1. So negative 8 plus 2n minus 2. I'm distributing that in, and I get negative 10 plus 2n. I'll rearrange. So AN equals 2n minus 10. Now we'll find our 20th term. So that's going to be 2 times 20 minus 10. That's 40 minus 10. So that's 30. So A20 is 30. Now, a little puzzle that we could do with these, hopefully you're good on that. A little puzzle that we could do with these is, what if I give you a term, so say the first term, and the last term, so this is the second, so this is A2, A3, A4, A5. So this is my fifth term, and I want to know, well, what's missing here? And we call those the arithmetic means. So I know I'm adding something, and these are spaced out such that it's pretty easy to figure out. But what I want to do is actually use my formula in order to figure out these other terms. So my formula is this, once again, and I'm going to plug in what I know, and I know the last term. So this is the last term, so 45 goes right there. And the first term is 21, D. Now I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did 5 terms, so N is 5. I can go ahead and subtract those, so I have 45 equals 21, plus that's 4. And now I'll solve this for D. So minus 21 gives me 24 right there for D, and divide by 4. Now, if I did this right, so my common difference is 6. So if I add 6 here, I get 27. If I add 6 here, I get 33. If I add 6 here, I get 39. Now, if I add 6, I should get 45, and yes, I do. So let's try this one. So my first term, this is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. So A6 is my last term. So here's my formula. AN equals A1 plus D n minus 1. So A1 or A1 is negative 8. My last term is 22 plus common difference. So I'm just using this formula to find the common difference. Now, I do know N is the sixth term, so N is 6 minus 1. So this is 5. So I have 5D right here. I have negative 8, 22. I'll add the 8, get 30. This is plus. Divide by 5 and get 6. So 6 again, I guess. So let's just verify. So plus 6 gives me 2. Plus 6 gives me 8. Plus 6 gives me 14. Plus 6. All right, so there is a mistake here somewhere. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, negative 8. So I added 8. Got 30. I don't know where I went wrong. Plus 6, we should have actually gotten it. So Just give me a second. 5 plus. I don't know. I can't add. This should be -2. My bad. That should be -2. Plus 6. That will give me 4. Plus 6. That will give me 10. Plus 6. That will give me 16. Plus 6. That gives me 22. Okay, so there we go. So signs matter. All right, almost done. So now let's actually get into adding these. There we go. We want to find the sum. So our sum formula, I'll put it down here, was Sn equals n a1 plus an divided by 2. There is a other formula that you can use, the second one. I find that this one is the easiest, so that's the one I'm going to use. There's usually not much reason to do the other one. So this is my first term, and I see here's my last term. Okay, so this is my last term. This is my an. And I have a common difference here. So my D is 4. And just what do you know? The one time that I say this is the most useful, actually the other one would actually be good in this particular case. But I'm going to be stubborn and just use this one anyway. So in order to use this one, I need to know n. And I don't know which term number this is, so I need to figure that out. And that's pretty easy. I'm going to use this an equals a1 plus dn minus 1, and I'm just going to substitute everything in and solve for n. So I know that my last term is 80. I know that my first term is 8, plus I know that d is 4. And now I have enough here that I can go ahead and distribute that 4, so plus 4 minus, and I get 80, and then 4 plus 4n, subtract that 4, get 76, 4n, so 76 divide 4, and we get 19. So that was the 19th term. So you can plug into this arithmetic sequence formula and find any of the things that you're missing. So that was the 19th term. So all that to say, I'm going to use this formula right here. So I'll do it in red because I'm going to have to smush it in. So Sn, and it's going to be 19 because the sum of the first 19 terms is going to be 19 times A1 is 8 plus An is 80, all divided by 2. So this is going to be 88 divided by 2. And 88 divided by 2 is 44. So I have 19 times 44. And Sn is going to be, let's go ahead and bring up the calculator, 19 times 44. And get 836. Okay, so I'll try to smush this other one better. So again, I'm going to use this formula to find the nth term, but you could just use the second formula I gave you for sum and, not be stubborn, but I'm going to be stubborn. So An is going to be my 180. This is helpful, just practice solving things, right? So 180 equals 12 plus, my common difference looks like it is 7. So if I do 19 minus 12, I get 7. N minus 1, and I'm going to solve for n. That'll give me which term number I'm talking about. So I have 180 equals 12. Now don't add the 12 and 7. I have to distribute. Don't break your order of operations. And I'll get 5 right here because 12 minus 7 is 5. I'm going to subtract 5, get 175 equals 7n. And let's go ahead and see what that is. 175 divided by 7. And we get 25. So that was the 25th term. So I know my term number is 25. So I'm going to do this formula, Sn equals n times A1 plus An, all divided by 2. I know A1, that is 12. I know An, that is 180. Going to divide that by 2. And now I know n because I solved it, so I got 25. And I'm just going to type all of that into the calculator. So this 192 divided by 2. So 192 divided by 2. And then I'm going to multiply by 25 because 25 was how many terms I have. So 2,400 is Sn. That's my sum. So if I added all these numbers up, that's what I would get, but it would take me a while to do that. Now, these two other ones are set up strange. Like, I don't have a list of numbers or anything, but I do know from my formula that ultimately I need to know the first term and the last term. So in order to add these up, I need to know, well, how far do I want to go? Because obviously if I add these up, they could just, add up indefinitely. So I'm going to make it easy on us, and I'm going to say for this one, we're going to go 10 terms, and on this one, 15 terms. So to get a 1, that means n is 1. So I'll put in a 1 right here, and that's going to be 8. So A1 is 8. And if I put in 10, so n is 10, that's going to give me the 10th term now. Don't be asking, where did he get that 10? I just made that up. I said, I want to add up the first 10 terms. So that'd be given to you in the question. So times 10. So we got 50 plus 3, so 53. And now I use my sum formula. So the sum is going to be n. This is n, because that's how many terms I want. So 10. A1 plus A10, all divided by 2. So let's see what that gives me. So 8 plus 53. That gives me 61 divided by 2. And now times 10. And we get 305. All right here, same idea. I want 15, so that's n. So A1, in order to use this formula, you need the first term. Oh, that's not the first term, right? Jumping ahead here. So 3, negative 9. A15, now I put that in. So that's 45 minus 12. So 33. Okay, so now I use my formula for summing. I'm going to get, now 15 is my n, so that's this thing. Negative 9 plus 33 divided by 2. And just typing that all in, 180. That's Sn, not S times n. All right, so there we go. All right, I've been talking quite a bit, so time to shut up a little bit. Almost time anyways. So this is a different way to write a sum. Now notice, before I get into that, notice these are linear. That one is linear. It means it would form a line. And if I take a look at these, not those, if I take a look at these equations right here. Linear. Do you see what form they're in? It's like y equals mx plus b. So anytime I have that, I know ultimately that I am in an arithmetic situation. So this one's arithmetic. This one is arithmetic. This one is not. Okay, so this one. So my first term is not 3. It's going to happen at 3. Remember our segment notation. Now, normally we'd put in the 3, then we put in 4, 5, 6, all the way up till 10, and then add them all up. But I can use my sum formula to do it quickly. And this is divided by 2. Okay, so n. Well, how many terms do I have right here? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's first get A1. So A1, now this is going to be confusing, starts at 3, so I put in 3, so 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so 7. And then, well, AN, that's going to be the 10. I end up at 10, so 2 times 10 plus 1, so 21 is AN. So I have 7 plus 21, all divided by 2. But the question is, how many terms are there? Well, let's talk about books on a page, and then this will make more sense. So let's say you're reading a book, and you start at page 1, and you end at page 4. So how many pages did you read? And you might think 3. I read 3 pages. Why? Because I ended on page 4, so 4 minus 1 gives me 3. But you would be wrong because you count this first page as having been read. So it's actually one more than that. You read 4 pages. So using that process, I have 10, and I started on page 3. So I ended on page 10, I started on page 3, 7, but I actually read page 3, so 8. There are 8 terms right here. So we have 8, and then 28 divided by 2. So 8 times 14. And we get 112. So the sum is 112. Of course, you could put these all in individually and add them up. Okay, next one, SN. So in order to do this, I need a 1. So A1 is when n is 9. So put in my 9. I get 51. And AN, now I don't know what the nth term is yet, but that doesn't matter. It happens at 21. So I put a 21 in there. So 5 times 21 plus 6. I'll use the calculator to help me. So 5 times 21 plus 6. Get 111. Okay, so I have that information. So 51 plus 111, all divided by 2. And then n, what is n? Well, 21 minus 9. I ended on the 21st page. I started on the 9th page. Hopefully you see that I have one more because I read the 9th page. So I'll type that all in and get 13. So there are 13 terms right there. And now I'll type in the rest. So 51 plus 111 divided by 2 times the 13 and 1053. Now this one is not arithmetic, so I'm not going to have a formula for it. So how do I do the summation? We already did a section on summations. I put in a 3, so I'll get 9 minus 2 times 3. So minus 6, so 3. That's the first thing. Then I have 4. I put in a 4, so 16 minus 8. That's 8. Okay, I'm going to add these all up at the end. Now I'm at 5, so 25 minus 10, so that's 15. That's the next one. Then I put in 6 into the formula there. 36 minus, if I put a 6 right there, that's minus 12. So 24. And then I add those all up. 11, let's see, 15, 26, 24. I'm just adding these. Looks like 50. 50. So equals 50. Okay. At the end, finally. So, I want you to pause the video and go ahead and try each one of these questions for these two. Use this information up here. And then when you're done, check your work. I'll give you a few seconds. Go ahead, pause. And I'm about to show you the answers. Answers. All right, so how'd you do? Hopefully well.